Excellent. So, tell people about what is it like on the ground there? For people living in their middle class bubble. I have sociological information on the education level and things of my viewers. What's it? You're dealing with, it was mainly with black kids, was it in Manchester that you were working with?
All kids. So obviously Manchester is a very ethnically diverse area. So we'd be working with lots of black kids, brown kids, white kids, mixed race kids. Just imagine whatever you would imagine in the city centre, that's who we're working with. The only group we tend not to work with, which wouldn't be a surprise, would be Muslim girls, because Muslim girls tend not to socialise on the streets.
Yeah, so Islam is doing something right. So you've got these so these young kids, and what kind of problems are they dealing with and how did you help them?
So all our work is actually done on the streets themselves. So it's not about going on the streets and trying to get them into a building or get them into a youth club. We do the work on those streets, on those corners, because a lot of those young people have already been thrown out of the youth clubs, kicked out of school, don't want to go into a building because then you've got to follow rules and regulations in those buildings. They don't want that. They want to be able to live the life they want in their social time on the streets. So we introduce ourselves, might take weeks for them to accept us and chat to us, and then it really is about having some frank conversations and letting them dictate the conversations about the topics and what they want to talk about. And it might start off simple, such as what do you want to do when you leave school, and let's see where that conversation goes. And if they're talking about every now and again you get someone who'll say I want to be a doctor, and then straight away we know your parents are immigrants, because they've got dreams for you. But the common answers will be, I want to be a drug dealer. A lot of that is bravado. They don't mean it or don't understand what they're saying. It sounds cool to say it. And the next common answer usually is nothing. Don't know what I want to do. I don't want to be anything. And those kids have usually had any dreams and aspirations just kicked out of them through our schooling, through parenting.
But it's quite the idea that you can think to yourself that you don't want to, that we live in such a decadent society, and that somebody can just say, I don't want to do anything. And they can know that is actually a possibility.
Yeah, it's a choice.
You can get away with, okay, you won't be able to afford to go on holiday to America or whatever, but you can get away with just doing bugger all. Yep. Whereas if you go back to, I don't know about the 80s, but if you go back to the sort of 60s, you'd get kids that were so poor. I don't remember it myself, but my grandfather would talk about that they would be excused from PE because they couldn't afford underwear.
Yeah,
the kids didn't have underpants. That's how poor they were, right?
Yeah,
and they didn't have socks. Couldn't afford socks, and they'd have to wear these hard shoes, no socks, and that's gone. That would be considered against their human rights to not have socks and underwear. So that we're so wealthy that people can just don't do anything. I'll just sod about. I'll get, I don't know what income support is these days, but so I'll get that, and they'll stick you in a flat. So
that's because they don't see any negative consequences to that. What's the worst that's going to happen if I do nothing? Oh, well, I'll have £90 a week given to me. I'll have a flat somewhere. I might get some girl knocked up, in which case we'll earn more money then. I'll have plenty of time to smoke dope and play video games. It's not a great life, but do you know what? It's good enough. And
it was good enough for Diogenes the Cynic, and Diogenes the Cynic didn't didn't even get given free money. He had to give philosophical opinions in order to get money. He lived in a barrel. And Alexander the Great said to him, "Look, you're a really great philosopher. I'll give you anything you want. What do you want? One thing you want." He said, "Just get out of my light." This is not these people are not as philosophically inclined, I think, as Diogenes the Cynic. They'll probably begin their philosophical opinions by saying things like "at the end of the day." They're more like 8 Ace from Viz. So So I think that. So, and how did you see any results? I mean, what were your interventions? You got to know these people. You gained their trust. Do you have any excellent any cases where you got some poor kid from this, and then they've gone down? You've been really proud. What are you proudest of?
Yes, I've got. Obviously, we have more failures than successes because this is really, really difficult work. But we have many, many successes. So I remember last year we had a kid in Cheetham Hill, which is a notorious gang area of Greater Manchester. There's constant shootings and stabbings going on there, and we were talking to and got to know this 16, 17-year-old lad. We do a bit of football in the park there sometimes, and he was talking to us, and we're asking him what he was going to college. What do you want to be? And he's not sure yet. Maybe a dentist, maybe this, maybe that. I'm working hard at college. I don't want to live in this area. Even though my parents live here, I think I can do better. And he had the aspiration. And then he said to us one day, my biggest worry is my friends here. I've got 8 friends here playing football with. These are my friends. I hang out with them every day. And I'm scared that they're going to ruin my life for me because one of them got stabbed a few days ago. And if I'd have been next to him, I might have been stabbed. 2 of them sell drugs. If I'm next to them and the police turn up, I might get arrested because they're selling drugs. He goes, these friends of mine, and I love them dearly, and they're my best friends. I've grown up with these since we went to nursery. But I think they're going to ruin my life for me. What can I do? I can't leave Cheetham Hill yet. I'm only 17. I've got no money. So over a couple of weeks, we started working out with him a strategy about what he can do to protect himself more. And we came up with, he has friends at college and they're like him. They want a better life. They want aspiration. They want to do something. And he worked out he needs to spend more time with them. He needs to socialize with them. And he needs to spend overtime, spending less time on the streets where he lives, more time at home working at college, work, and any spare time at weekends, he needs to be going to where his friends live in other parts of Manchester and hanging out with them. And then suddenly he disappeared for 2-3 months. And then one day we were working in his area and we saw him coming back from the shop and he came over and he said, I took that advice and that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's why you don't see me here anymore now, because I don't want my friends here to ruin my life. And for us, that's a huge success.
Did he become a dentist or anything like that?
This is only last year.
All right. Okay.
So
I mean, that's true. I mean, the research into it's who you hang around with. I can't talk about certainly with intelligence. If you want to be pushed to your phenotypic maximum intelligence, then hang around with intelligent people.
Yeah.
And they will stimulate you to your phenotypic maximum. If you want to be reduced to your phenotypic minimum intelligence, then hang around with stupid people. Yeah. And that's the thing that we used to have in the UK. I mean, okay, there were lots of bad things about it. I think the age was wrong, but the 11 plus would take kids that were from any ordinary backgrounds, and they get into a grammar school, and they would be basically inculcated with middle classness and associated with aspirational values, as it were. People like John Major. So John Major was from this. If you've read his autobiography, he was really hard up. I mean, his parents had trouble affording. His mother, rather, his father was dead. Had trouble affording the uniform for Rutledge Grammar. And in the end, he admits that he fell in with the wrong crowd, and he ballsed up, and he left with only a couple of O levels, and he tried to become a bus conductor, and they didn't give him the job because his handwriting was too rubbish. And then eventually, of course, he became prime minister. Yeah. So it's something of a success story, but he had every disadvantage in life you can imagine, really.
Yeah,
and that included hanging around with the wrong crowd. You know, yeah. So that's a big thing, and so you've got that. That's one of the things, and what so you intervene, you go up to them, you how do you gain their trust? I mean, these people can be quite aggressive, can't they? I mean, if I've watched Charlie Veitch's stuff, I mean, these people can be quite aggressive and unpleasant. How do you?
Surprisingly, they're not. So what you need to remember is we're not working with criminals. These people are all below that level, mainly. So we're not dealing with hardened criminals, and we're also just working with children. They're just children at the end of the day. And the best thing about working on the streets is if they don't want to talk to you, they just walk away. And that's how you know they're not interested at that particular moment in time. They just turn on their heels and they walk away, in which case it's like, not a problem, catch you next week. And it's about, I employ staff who have really, really good engagement skills. And that's what you need. You need to be able to walk up to strangers and within a couple of seconds have them laughing and joking. Because if you can't do that, you freak them all out. They already think you're undercover police. And if they don't think you're police, they think you're some sort of pedo. So you've got to be able to get them laughing and take some time to get to know them. And then they're very inquisitive. They'll ask questions. And also, a lot of the time, they're bored, stood on the street corner. Just for a couple of minutes, you might be entertainment for them. And they're willing to talk to you because they've got nothing else to do. So if you don't
mind my saying, I mean, obviously we've only spoken twice. I mean, I don't want to make a judgment, but yeah. you have this kind of extremely empathetic, almost childlike in some ways, not in a bad way. I don't mean this in a bad way. Persona. I mean that in the way that genuine and is this something you've developed, or is this actually you? I mean, have you developed this skill to be like that?
No, I think I already had it. I think that's why I was good at it straight away. I've probably got better at it because, like anything, practice makes perfect. I've become better at it. I've always had those two traits that conflict sometimes. I've always been compassionate, but I've always been stern. So I want the best for these kids. I really, in my heart, I want the best for all these kids. And I tell them all the time, we live in the best country in the world and you're here. Doesn't matter how you got here, but you're here. And this country has so many opportunities. And if you mess up those opportunities, it's fine. Because you know what? This country will then give you a load more opportunities until you finally take one. This country doesn't give up on you. And we're here to teach you how to see those opportunities and how to grasp them. Because once you grasp them, your life will get better.
Sorry, people are saying in the comments I called him a child. No, I didn't. I commented on a certain aspect of his persona, which is almost I would see it as something you can train yourself to do, which is almost like an innocence. And it means, I guess, that if you come across like that as incredibly empathetic and whatever, then when you give someone a bollocking, it has a lot more power to it than if someone who is generally quite austere and severe gives someone a bollocking. Well, that's a water off a duck's back. But if somebody that is always kind and listens to you and if they give you a bollocking, then you think to Christ, well, I must have really ballsed up. Do you think that have you noticed that if you compare yourself to other social workers that you have this effect? Do you think?
Yeah, and let me give you a good example of this. So a couple of years ago, working with some kids, and one of them was a bit wayward, and he bought an illegal off-road motorbike and was driving it around the estate, causing a nuisance. And we knew who he was. We saw him. He stopped and talked to us on the bike, and we said to him, we're not having this. You're going to kill yourself on that bike. And not only that, you could kill someone else. And we're not having this. We're doing it for you. So we reported him to the police. Police took him, confiscated his bike, crushed it, and prosecuted him. He got points on a license he didn't have and got a £70 fine, whatever. And then after he'd been to court, we saw him again on the streets. We knew what had happened. We went up to him and went, how did court go? And he went, oh. And he said to us, do you know what? I'm glad you did that because I never thought until you said it that I could kill someone. I don't mind if I kill myself, but the thought of killing someone else, I'm glad you stopped me doing that. And then we helped him get into college. So he got into college then. And then 2 years...
You mean sixth form college?
Sixth form college. And then we sort of lost contact with him a little bit. And then he phoned us up and met us and said, I've got a place at university, but I can't afford a laptop and I need a laptop to go. So we bought him a laptop. So there's a kid we got arrested, helped him into college, then bought him a laptop for university. And he never held it against us because We explain to them, we're doing this for your best interests. And that's what parents should be doing. Parents are stern with their children and will punish their children. They do it out of love, not out of malice. And that's why we did what we did.
Exactly. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. And speak civilly to my boy and beat him when he sneezes, or he can have the measure of the pepper when he pleases. Precisely. Do you mind me asking? Do you have children yourself?
No.
So do you think that do you think that part of the skill is that they're almost like surrogates, that you're
I have really thought about this. My friends who have got children have said to me, and my sister says to me, but Nick, you've always been great with kids. So I think I've always just been great with kids.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Why? What do you think it is about you? Because I can completely imagine it, but why do you think you're so good with kids? I mean, as a father with children, I'd like to know your secret.
I think we've all got skills. I think it's just something that's in me. It wasn't developed. You know, I'm a little bit of a loner, so it's not like I'm, an extrovert or, extremely social. I'm very social, but it's not like I crave people's company. I think it was one of those things that's in me. That's all I can say, really.
Yeah, just a sort of aware of children and their how they think, almost how they see, how they.
I think the skill is, well, this is just me thinking. I think, doesn't mean I am. I think I'm good at understanding what people are thinking and feeling. Empathy. It's always something I've always thought I was good at, is understanding a situation. I can be in a bar, especially in my younger days, and I'd say to my friends, we need to move over there because it's going to kick off here any moment. And they'd go, how do you know? I can't hear any shouting. I went, his body language, his facial expression, just